Hey friend, welcome back to the Lifestyle School Podcast. I am your host, Hope Plack. I am a nutritionist, health coach, and behavior change specialist. And this is a place where we talk about what it actually takes to build a healthy body and a healthy life that lasts. Here at Lifestyle School, we take the focus off quick fixes, extreme diets, and chasing a number on the scale, and instead focus on understanding how your body works and building a lifestyle that supports your metabolic health for the long haul. We talk about things like insulin resistance, blood sugar, fasting, nutrition, movement, sleep, stress, our habits, mindset, and identity, because your health isn't determined by one food, by one workout, or, one perfect week. It is a result of what you do consistently over time. My goal is to help you understand the why behind your health so you can stop jumping from, plan to plan and start making informed decisions that actually work for your real life. So today I want to talk about something that I think we dramatically underestimate when it comes to our health, to our weight, our hormones, and our blood sugar. And even things like our hunger, our energy, and honestly, our ability to follow through on almost every other healthy habit we're trying to build. And if you've been around for a while, you could probably guess what I'm going to talk about today. It's sleep. So, I talk on this podcast about nutrition a lot. We talk about insulin resistance and fasting and movement, strength training, etc. And all of those things matter immensely, right? Our body is complex. It's beautiful. It's never just one thing. But if I had to choose one thing that sits underneath almost all of these things, I think I would choose sleep, because sleep is the foundation. You can be eating really well. You can be doing or trying to do your fast. You can do a great exercise program. You can be buying the supplements, drinking the electrolytes, understanding insulin resistance. You can know exactly what you should be doing, but when you're chronically underslept, every single one of these things become so much harder. Your hunger can become harder to manage. Your cravings will definitely increase. Your blood sugar regulation becomes so much worse. Your insulin sensitivity can decrease and workouts feel harder. Your recovery suffers and your stress tolerance decreases and your emotional regulation gets so much worse. And so that little voice that says, forget it, we're exhausted, we'll start again tomorrow, gets a whole lot louder. And we then, find ourselves thinking of ourselves as undisciplined. We say things like, why can't I just stick with, the plan that I set out to do? I know what I'm supposed to do. Why can't I get myself to do it? And sometimes I think we try to solve a discipline problem that isn't entirely a discipline problem. Sometimes we're just frankly exhausted. So today I want to make the case for why sleep deserves to move up way, way, way higher on your priority list. Not because you need to have perfect sleep. It's hard to achieve. Not because everyone can magically get 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep every night. There are seasons of life when sleep is genuinely difficult. There are babies. My baby was up for like an hour in the middle of the night last night. There are things like sick kids, demanding jobs, hormonal changes. There's menopause, perimenopause, stress, caregiving, all of that. That is just life, right? But so this isn't going to be an episode where I tell you that if you aren't sleeping like the perfect 8 hours every night, you're doing something wrong. Instead, though, I want you to understand what sleep actually does for you, because when you understand its value, you stop treating it like it's an expendable part of your day. You stop thinking, I'll get everything else done first, and then whatever time is left over is when I'll sleep. When sleep should never be getting the leftovers of your life. And my hope is that by the end of this episode, you'll understand why. So before we get into the meat of today's episode, I want to give you guys a quick little personal update about myself, my own weight loss journey. You guys, I am officially, as of this last weekend, 24 pounds down in 13 weeks, which is very exciting. I can see my body changing. Really, 24 pounds is a significant amount of weight. I mean, I think about a 25-pound weight at the gym, and I pick that up, that's pretty heavy. And I was just carrying that around for funsies all the time. And I set the weight down. So 24 pounds down. Also, you guys, this was big. I think it was Sunday, I was getting dressed for church. I put my fat pants on. We've graduated from our super fat to the fat pants. My fat pants are feeling a little loose, and it is really exciting. So I have 2 pairs of fat pants that I bought. One of them is a little bit tighter than the other. The higher waisted ones are a little bit tighter, and I put on the little bit higher waisted ones, and they were feeling loose, and they're like generally the tighter ones. So that was very, very exciting. I want to share with you kind of like what I've been doing, how I'm thinking about my weight loss journey as I go into a much busier season. I homeschool my kids. I've got 4 kids. 3 of them are school age, and we've got activities starting. We're doing 2 homeschool co-ops this year. My husband was like, so Hope, 3 months goes by and you find that it's just too much. What are you going to cut? And I was like, I don't actually think I can cut anything. That's not a great spot to be in. But let's talk about what I'm doing, what my plan is. So currently, I know the season of being able to get to the gym every day is short because school is going to start and there just literally isn't time. So here is my plan. Currently, what I'm doing from a workout perspective is I am doing a lot, and I have the time right now. I have the margin, so that's what I'm doing. Currently, I've been going to the gym pretty much Monday through Saturday, and you might be like, whoa, Hope, that sounds like too much. Don't worry about it. I don't spend 2 hours in the gym super hard. Like some days I do a 45-minute strength training workout. Other days it's like 18 minutes, 20 minutes maybe. It just kind of depends on the day. So what I do, I get to the gym, I do 15 minutes on the stair stepper because I'm trying to get some cardiovascular fitness because I love to hike and I just don't have good cardiovascular shape, guys. I have just in the last week started running again for 5 whole minutes. I think as of next week, I'm going to start trying to run first thing in the morning outside, 1/2 mile. It takes me about 5 minutes. My mentality when it comes to running, because I absolutely despise it, is I can do anything for 5 minutes. I can run for 5 minutes. It's not going to kill me. And it's making a deposit for my health. It's starting my day doing something hard. I'm going to start that. I've been a little unsure of if I'll be able to do it because I'm still coming out of this like big back flare up. Thankfully, my back is feeling so much better. But my back is the most stiff right away when I wake up in the morning. And so I've been doing my runs at the gym to just see how my body responds. And my back has felt good. So as of next week, I'm going to try to start doing those right away in the morning here at home, but we'll see how it goes. So I had been going to the gym like 6 days a week. I'll do 15 minutes on the Stairmaster. And then anywhere from 20 to like 45 minutes of lifting, depending on how much time I have, depending on how I feel, how busy the gym is, etc. And then do some stretching. And how I split my workouts is like I'll do legs one day, I'll do chest the next day, back, so I'll do chest and triceps. Then I'll do back and biceps, and then I'll do shoulders and abs, and then go back to legs. And so I'm rotating that. So it's like I have a pretty big gap between muscle groups. So I don't feel like I'm overworking myself at all. And then when it comes to fasting, what I've been doing is I've been doing 3 42-hour fasts a week. At this point, that feels pretty easy because I've been doing that since the beginning of May. I have not counted any calories. I have eaten until I feel full. I would say I have been low-ish carb, but by no means have I been super low carb. So yeah, that's what I've been doing. I have felt really great. But the school year is starting and I won't be able to go to the gym in the same way. I do plan to continue to do my fast because I'm fat adapted. I think that should feel pretty easy. But from an exercise perspective, I'm going to try to make it to the gym like 2 to 3 times during the week. So I think I can go like Monday, Wednesday, Saturday with our schedule, maybe Thursday too. And my goal is to do like my leg workout there. And I have some stuff at home. I'm going to put together a workout plan and try to do like my chest, back and shoulder workouts at home here on days like when we have co-op. And so I'm just going to get up early like I typically do. Like right now my kids aren't awake. I'm recording this before they wake up. Do my exercise, like do my workout here at home. and then just like get on with my day. But I'll keep you posted. I am historically awful at working out at home. I hate it. I much prefer to go to the gym. But it's like going to be work out at home or not work out. And I got goals. So we'll see what happens. So my mantra going into the school year is if you fail to plan, you fail. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And so I'm planning it out. I'm trying to, like, every Monday I'm going to do X and take all the thinking out of it, where I just show up and I do it, because I know if I do that, I'm much more likely to do it and be successful. So with that, guys, before we get into today's episode, before we dive in, let's do a quick reminder. This podcast is for educational purposes only and is not intended as medical advice. Always consult with a qualified healthcare provider before making major changes to your diet, fasting routine, supplements, or exercise. And you guys, if you enjoy this episode, I would love it if you'd share it with a friend, leave a review, subscribe to the podcast, and follow me over on Instagram and Facebook. The handle over there is Hope Plaque Coaching. Also, I was going to say on here, so just this last week, my Instagram and Facebook, like, I'm getting no views on any of the videos I post. It's just like really disheartening. And this is, again, one of the reasons why I hate social media. It's like you're scrounging, or it's just like you're fighting for your life to get any eyeballs on the things that you post. And I just think that's so stupid and such a waste of time. But at the same time, I have an online business. So like, how am I going to promote that if I don't post online, right? So guys, if you would do me, the huge favor of sharing this podcast, because I feel like the podcast gives way more context to what I say, what I think. I think it's just like a much better way for people to get to know me and what I do and what I'm about, and to just learn than like clips on Instagram. But if you guys are on social media, if you would do me a favor, if you could go over to Instagram and like watch my video all the way through, because I think that's what helps it. Like it, comment on it. I don't know, but I'm just struggling over here, just, trying to show up in all the ways. And social media is just kicking my butt, and it's really annoying. I hate to feel like I'm wasting time. I think at the end of the day is what it comes down to. And I feel like any time I spend on it is wasted, because like maybe 30 people see it and you're like, okay, this is dumb. So anyway, sorry, I'll get off my soapbox. One last thing. Got to mention, our supplement store is open. So if you want a very practical, tangible way to support this podcast, my ability to continue to provide this free content, get your supplements from me. You can go over to my website, www.hopeplaquecoaching.com. Top right corner of my website, you're going to see a button that says store. Hit that. It will actually take you to the supplement store. All of these supplements, you guys, are third-party tested for quality and purity. This isn't, unfortunately, something you're guaranteed when you buy supplements on places like Amazon or Walmart or Costco or even Whole Foods or like a health food store, GNC. These are the same professional grade products that I use, that I have my kids use, that I recommend to my clients. They're all third-party tested for quality and purity. It's a super easy way that you can support the show. So if you want to do that, you will need a code to create an account. That code is 104567. And order from me. If you're like, Hope, I want to take supplements, I want to support you in this way, but I'm not sure where to start with supplements, head over to episode 43 of this podcast. I talk about the core 4 supplements that I recommend for everyone and why they matter for metabolic health. You can check that out, or just send me a message. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to answer any questions the best I can. With that, guys, let's get into today's episode. So I want to start here because I think culturally, we have a strange relationship with sleep. I don't know if you feel that way, but I can feel that way. I think we tend to associate being awake with productivity. If I'm awake, I can work, I can do things like clean, exercise, answer emails, watch something, get things done. And if I'm sleeping, I'm doing nothing. It's kind of the mentality, I think, as a culture that we have. And I want you to know, though, physiologically, it couldn't be farther from the truth. The more I learn about sleep, the more I'm like, wow, this is so incredibly important and productive. And if you're someone like me who always wants to be productive, this is going to hopefully help change the way you think of it. Your body is incredibly busy while you're sleeping. Sleep isn't simply the absence of being awake. It's an active biological process. Throughout the night, your brain and your body moves through different stages of sleep. Hopefully you've heard of these before. There is non-REM sleep, including deep sleep, and then there's REM sleep. And throughout the night, you cycle through these stages again and again. During deeper sleep stages, your body is doing physical repair and recovery. Your nervous system is changing. Your immune system is active. Your hormones are being regulated. Your brain is processing information. Memories are being consolidated. Emotional experiences are being processed. I know I need help with that. Your tissues are recovering. Your metabolism is being regulated. Your brain is essentially doing housekeeping tasks. And there are processes happening while you sleep that simply cannot happen in the same way while you're awake. Excuse me. So sleep, I don't know why my voice keeps doing this while I'm podcasting. Sleep isn't simply something your body does because it ran out of other things to do. Sleep is something your body actually requires in order to function properly. Think about it like maintenance on your car. You could technically keep driving your car and skipping maintenance. You could skip things like the oil change. You could ignore the warning lights on the dashboard. You could keep putting miles on it. And for a while, things might seem kind of fine until it absolutely isn't. And you find yourself on the side of the highway with a car that's just totally dead, right? Our bodies can compensate incredibly well if we choose to forego sleep. You can run on 5 hours of sleep. You can drink coffee. You can push through. You can keep going. My college experience did teach me that. But just because your body can compensate doesn't mean there isn't a cost. And I will say, I think the older you get, the more you feel that cost. And one of the places we see that cost most is metabolic health. And we're all about talking about metabolic health here. And this is where I really want you to pay attention, because if you have insulin resistance, and this podcast is kind of focused on people who have that predisposition to insulin resistance, it's like 9 out of 10 people in the US are insulin resistant. So you probably have it even if you don't know it. One of the things we know from sleep research is that insufficient sleep can impair insulin sensitivity and glucose regulation. Remember that insulin sensitivity means that, insulin is essentially a messenger. After you eat particularly carbohydrates, glucose starts to rise, right? Your pancreas then releases insulin, and insulin helps move glucose out of your bloodstream and into your cells where it can be used or stored for energy. And when your cells respond well to insulin, we call that being insulin sensitive. When your cells stop responding as efficiently, your body has to produce more insulin to accomplish the same job. That is, in a nutshell, insulin resistance. And sleep affects this system. Even relatively short periods of sleep restriction have been shown in controlled studies to negatively impact glucose metabolism and insulin sensitivity. And that is a really big deal. Think about what that means practically. You could eat the exact same breakfast after a great night's sleep and have a terrible night's sleep and potentially have totally different metabolic response to that same breakfast. I have had clients see this happen. I have seen it myself on a continuous glucose monitor. Same person, same breakfast, different physiological environment internally because of their sleep. Because your health, you guys, isn't determined exclusively by what is sitting on your plate. I think we'd love to simplify it to that, but that's just not the reality. It's also influenced by what happened the night before. And this is one reason I'm constantly telling my clients to protect their sleep, especially when they're doing things like fasting, especially when we're working on things like insulin resistance, especially when we're asking the body to become more metabolically flexible. If you're simultaneously, depriving yourself of sleep, you're making the process harder than it needs to be. This process of losing weight, of improving your metabolism, of reversing your insulin resistance. And this is where I think people sometimes get frustrated. They say things like, I'm eating low carb, I'm fasting, I'm exercising. Why is my blood sugar higher today? Why am I still so hungry? Why does everything feel harder? And one of the questions that we should be starting with is like, well, how did we sleep? How did we feel when we woke up from that sleep? Because metabolic health doesn't happen in isolated compartments. Food affects our sleep. Sleep affects our glucose. Glucose affects our hunger. Hunger affects our food choices. Stress affects our sleep. Sleep affects our stress. And movement affects our glucose. Sleep affects whether we feel like moving and our recovery. Literally everything is connected, right? It's this like intertwined web of things happening metabolically and physiologically in our body. And our sleep does truly change our hunger. And if Ozempic has taught us anything about weight loss, is that if you can quiet that food noise, people have so much more success. And that's what I hear people raving about online all the time regarding their GLP-1 use, is that like they're finally not thinking about food 24/7. So let's talk about hunger, because this is where I think most people can feel the effects of poor sleep without ever seeing a laboratory study. I think about the last time you were truly exhausted. Maybe you slept 4 or 5 hours. Maybe your kids woke you up repeatedly. Maybe you just stayed up way too late. What did you want to eat that next day? Was it salmon and broccoli? Probably not, right? You probably wanted coffee. You probably wanted something sweet, maybe salty or crunchy, maybe all three, right? This isn't simply you being a weak individual and wanting a little snack. Sleep affects your appetite regulation and the brain's response to food. You may have heard about two hormones called ghrelin and leptin. Ghrelin is involved in stimulating hunger. Leptin is involved in communicating energy efficiency and satiety. So you'll sometimes hear sleep explained very simply as poor sleep increases ghrelin and decreases leptin. And while there is research supporting the changes in these hormones under certain conditions, human physiology is more complicated than a little, perfect little like two hormone equation, similarly to what we say about like the calorie restriction theory, the first law of thermodynamics. But I think this is much more useful for you to understand. What I think is much more useful for you to understand is the bigger picture. Sleep restriction can increase hunger. It can increase your appetite. It can increase, your desire for food reward. And studies have found that people who are sleep restricted often consume more calories. And here is the really important part of that. Your brain doesn't necessarily respond to food the same way when you're exhausted. Highly rewarding foods become harder to resist. And what foods are highly rewarding? Think about it. Usually not that chicken breast, usually not that super healthy option. We're talking about combinations of refined carbohydrates, sugar, salt, and fat, like the trifecta, right? Cookies, chips, ice cream, pizza pastries, chocolate, fast food, all the foods that are extremely easy to overeat. So now imagine someone trying to lose weight. They sleep for 5 hours, they wake up, they feel exhausted, they're hungrier, their brain is more interested in high reward foods, their glucose regulation may be worse, they're tired, so they don't want to get out and move, get that exercise in. They're tired, so they just generally move less throughout the day. If you've ever observed a partner after working a night shift, like I have, my husband works in the hospital, he works overnight. If he works a night shift, like the next day is pretty much kaput. Like he sleeps for 5 hours when he gets home in the morning, and then he's got to like wake up, try to like be a human, see the kids for a couple of minutes before going back to work. It's awful. You don't want to move. And then, preparing dinner feels super overwhelming. He probably wouldn't eat anything healthy if I didn't make it for him at that point. And, then at 8:30 at night, you're sitting on the couch eating something that you hadn't planned on eating, and you find yourself saying, oh, well, I don't have the willpower to do this. Or, I always end up eating these foods I told myself I wouldn't eat. And I want to challenge that thought though, because maybe willpower really isn't the whole story. Maybe it has almost nothing to do with it. Maybe you've created an environment where your biology is screaming louder than it needed to. This is why I say sleep makes everything easier, not easy, but easier. And there's like a difference there, right? And why make the process of weight loss harder than it needs to be? Because it's already hard to lose weight. Anyone who's tried to lose weight, anyone who has lost weight knows that losing weight is hard. It's just like a kind of unfortunate fact. Now, let's connect this directly to weight loss, because I know a lot of you listening are trying to lose body fat, trying to be your healthiest selves. And there is a tendency in the weight loss world to reduce everything down to food. You know, what did you eat? How many calories? How many carbohydrates? How much protein? And again, all those things matter. They truly do. But human metabolism doesn't exist in a vacuum, is what it comes down to. Sleep influences multiple systems involved in body weight regulation. We've talked about, insulin sensitivity already. We've talked about appetite, and we've talked about that food reward. But sleep also affects physical activity and recovery pretty significantly. When you're exhausted, exercise is going to feel a lot harder. And you're less likely to spontaneously move if you're feeling exhausted. You might skip your walk, you might skip your workout, you might still work out, but your performance suffers. And then there's recovery. If you're strength training, your goal isn't simply to burn calories during the workout. You want to maintain and build muscle, because muscle is metabolically valuable tissue. It improves your glucose disposal. It helps maintain function as we age. It helps change our body composition. Recovery is a really big deal, and sleep is a part of that recovery. And, there's also fascinating research looking at sleep during weight loss, suggesting that inadequate sleep may influence the composition of the weight that is lost. So in other words, when we're trying to lose weight, we don't simply care about whether or not the scale goes down. We care about what we're losing. We want to lose body fat. I don't want to necessarily lose lean tissue. And this is one of the reasons why I tell people that weight loss and fat loss are not always synonymous, especially in the day of GLP-1s. You may make the number on the scale smaller without necessarily improving your body composition in the way that you want. And this is another reason sleep belongs in the conversation. If your goal is metabolic health and sustainable fat loss, you need to think beyond calories. You need to think about the environment you're creating inside of your body. Now, I want to talk about cortisol in the nervous system, because poor sleep is a stressor. Also, one thing I want to say is if you are sleep deprived, exercise is a hormetic stressor, fasting is a hormetic stressor, and your body can only tolerate so much stress. And so it's just like another reason why sleep needs to be at the top of your priority list. But let's talk about cortisol in the nervous system, because like I said, sleep is a stressor. When you are sleep deprived, your body doesn't interpret that as Hope had a busy night. Your body experiences a physiological stress. Your sympathetic nervous system can become more active. Stress hormones can be affected. And then, we can get into this terrible cycle where stress disrupts our sleep and poor sleep increases our stress. And that feeling when you're exhausted, but somehow also wired? You're tired all day. You think, I can't wait to go to bed. And then bedtime comes. Suddenly your brain has decided that this is the perfect time to remind you of everything you've ever done wrong and everything you have to do. You remember an email you forgot to send. You start thinking about tomorrow, all the things that you need to get done. You start planning and worrying and scrolling. Your body is tired, but your nervous system is your nervous system isn't transitioning into rest. This is why a bedtime routine isn't just like a cute little wellness trend. It's a signal for your body. It's trying to tell the body the work is done, the day is over, you don't need to solve anything right now. You're moving from doing mode into recovery mode. And I think a lot of us are really terrible at this, myself included. We go directly from stimulation into bed. We'll have bright lights on, we're looking at our phones, we're watching TV, we're working, we're doing emails, social media, watching the news, whatever it is. And then we put the phone down and expect our brain to immediately shut off and go to sleep. But sometimes we actually need transition. And so I think realizing the effect this has on our body and then taking steps, and we'll talk about this at the end of the episode, is so important because we need to prep ourselves to sleep. But we'll get into that in the last section. Now I want to kind of transition here and talk about sleep and inflammation. Sleep is also intimately connected with our immune system function and inflammation. Insufficient and disrupted sleep is associated with changes in inflammatory signaling. And chronic inflammation matters because it's connected with so many of the metabolic problems we talk about on this podcast. Think of insulin resistance, cardiovascular disease, obesity, things like type 2 diabetes, and many, many, many other chronic health conditions. And again, I don't want you thinking, well, I slept badly last night, so now I'm inflamed and everything is ruined. I mean, I didn't sleep that great last night. My baby was up crying. That's not what I'm saying here. Our body is incredibly resilient. One bad night isn't going to, necessarily be the problem or the end of the world. We're talking about patterns here, though. We're talking about months and years of treating 5 hours of sleep as normal. We're talking about constantly asking our bodies to function without adequate recovery. Health is cumulative, okay? We talk about this a lot. Our health is really just the sum of all these little choices that we make day over day, week over week, year month after month, year after year. And the little things we do repeatedly absolutely matter. And this applies in both directions. Now, I want to move away from physiology for a minute because this is part of the conversation I think we often miss. Sleep affects your ability to be the person you're trying to become. I talk constantly about keeping promises to yourself. I'm telling, if you tell yourself you're going to go for a walk, go for the walk. If you tell yourself you're going to stop snacking after dinner, practice keeping that promise. If you tell yourself you're going to prioritize your health, start acting like someone who prioritizes their health. That is important, but we need to recognize that sleep deprivation affects executive function, emotional regulation, our attention, and our decision making. I know for me, this is like a huge one. So imagine that we're asking, from someone who is chronically exhausted, we're asking them, get up, take care of the kids, get everyone ready, work, make good food choices, don't snack, drink your water, manage stress, exercise, make dinner, be patient. Clean your kitchen, be patient, clean your kitchen, be patient, prepare for tomorrow, be patient. If you have kids, you get the joke. And resist every hyper-palatable food sitting in your pantry. Oh, and do all this while your brain is exhausted. And then when, you feel like you're struggling, we say, well, you need more discipline. Maybe, just maybe, one of the most disciplined things you could do is go to bed. It's going to make everything else easier because sometimes taking care of tomorrow starts tonight. And I want you to remember that. This makes me think of a phenomenon that I used to just be locked into. This was really, really a hard one for me. I think it's incredibly relatable, particularly for the moms out there. I know this is super common. Sometimes we don't go to bed because nighttime is the only time that feels like it's ours. The kids are finally asleep. Nobody needs a snack or is asking a question. No one needs your help finding something. Your work is done. The house is quiet. And finally you sit down. Maybe you start scrolling on your phone. Maybe you turn on a show. Maybe you grab a snack. And suddenly an hour has become 2 hours and you're exhausted, right? It's been a busy day. You should go to bed, but you don't want to because this is the first time all day no one needs anything from you and you just want to exist in this space. And there's actually a term commonly used for this. It's called revenge bedtime procrastination. And I think simply telling people to have more discipline and go to bed kind of misses what's happening here. So let's break it down. Maybe you don't need more discipline. Maybe you need more space in your life that belongs to you. Maybe you need 10 minutes in the afternoon where nobody gets anything from you. Maybe you need to sit outside, call a friend, read a book, go for a walk by yourself. Maybe you need a boundary. And I want to tell you this, especially to the moms out there, you can have boundaries with your kids. And you can expect them to respect them. But to do that, you have to be willing to enforce it and essentially like put in consequences. Like if they aren't going to respect your boundary, they're going to lose privileges. And it has to kind of hurt. You know, my kids, they love a good video game. They love, like time on social media, like they love to like watch a show or a movie. That's a real treat for them. And, you know, my boys know, or they're always saving it for Lego. So it's like, you could lose privileges for your video games. You can, you know, lose money from your allowance if you're not going to listen, respect boundaries. I love to put myself in a good timeout if I need it during the day so that I don't find myself at the end of the day thinking, oh, like I just want to sit here and just be by myself. And, you know, I'm still working on this, guys, but this used to be a massive problem for me. Thankfully, I feel like I've moved into a different season. It's not as much of a struggle. I go to bed and it feels great. And I feel so much better during the day. But yeah, set a boundary, make time for yourself during the day so that you're not, you know, up at midnight, and it's the only time in your life that you feel like it's your own. And bedtime is, you know, always going to feel like it's something you have to, so how do I want to say that? Bedtime is always going to feel like giving something up when you should be able to find that in the midst of your day. And I want to say, like, I don't think this is a discipline problem for a lot of people. I think it's a systems problem. And systems are something that we can work on, which is great. So anyway, I kind of got on a little tangent there, but that's okay. How much sleep do you actually need? Like, how much sleep should you be getting? Most adults, the general recommendation is at least 7 hours of sleep on a regular basis. And many adults do well somewhere around 7 to 9 hours. I would say I'm more on the like 8 or less is not good for me. I need 8 hours or maybe 9. Everyone's a little bit different. One of my best friends from growing up, they're more on the like 7 hours. And I'd like, well, it'd be great if I could do that. But I just don't function well if I'm consistently getting 7 hours of sleep. But I want to make an important distinction. Bedtime is not the same thing as time asleep. If you get into bed at 10 p.m. and wake up at 6 a.m., that doesn't necessarily mean you slept 8 hours. You have to fall asleep. You may wake up during the night. So I like thinking in terms of sleep opportunity. Are you giving your body enough opportunity to get to sleep and get the sleep it needs? And sometimes when people tell me, you know, I don't know why I'm exhausted all the time, we don't need, you know, a complicated answer. It's like, well, what time did you wake up? If they say 6 o'clock and say, okay, well, what time did you go to bed? Midnight. It's like, okay, well, we have somewhere to start. And, you know, you only gave yourself the opportunity to sleep for 6 hours. It was probably less than that. And before we, you know, go buy another supplement or blame our hormones or decide our metabolism is not working, maybe we need to acknowledge that we're only sleeping 6 or less hours a night. And sometimes the boring answer, guys, is the answer. And so what do we actually do about it? I'm not going to give you a 25-step sleep protocol because then I've just given you another exhausting thing to try to accomplish. Let's keep this really simple. First, let's establish a reasonably consistent waking time. Your circadian rhythm loves consistency. Our body has an internal clock, and one of the ways we strengthen that clock is through regular timing. Second, get outside in the morning. Morning light is one of the strongest signals you can give your circadian rhythm. And I mean outside, like light through a window isn't identical to actually stepping outside. Go outside, drink your coffee outside, take the dog out, walk around the block, stand on your porch, whatever. And just, you know, look towards the sun. It doesn't need to be this like 45-minute morning wellness ritual. Just get some outdoor light in your eyes early in the day. I have an indoor like 10,000 watt sun replicated light. I'm forgetting what it's called. And I put that on while I get ready in the morning because it's just not super practical for me right now to get outside right away. But you know, it's what works for now. I mean, different seasons, different things are going to work. Third is move. Physical activity, you guys, actively supports sleep, and sleep supports physical activity. It's like this great cycle if you can do it well. Again, these systems, they work together. Fourth, pay attention to how much coffee and caffeine you're taking in. Caffeine has a relatively long half-life. If you're like me, you can drink coffee late at night and you don't really feel it, but that's not true for the majority of people. That afternoon coffee may still be affecting you later into the evening. And, I know there's somebody listening that says, this is me. Coffee doesn't affect me. I can drink it and fall right asleep. That's honestly how I feel. But falling asleep isn't the only measure of whether caffeine is affecting sleep. If your sleep isn't great and you're consuming caffeine late in the day, it's worth experimenting with like moving that second cup of coffee earlier in the day. I think the fifth thing to do is create a shutdown ritual. It doesn't have to be elaborate. You turn the lights down, you put your phone away. Maybe you're like taking a shower before bed or reading, stretching, praying, journaling, whatever helps communicate to your body that today is over, and finally make the bedroom an environment that's great for sleep, okay? So we want to make sure our environment is cool, it's dark, it's quiet, it's simple. I started wearing a sleep mask because like the new house that we moved into like a year and a half ago, we couldn't put blackout shades on our things because we have these, I don't know what they're called. I'm not an interior design person, but they're like this like crown molding type thing over the top of our windows. And our neighbor has a light that turns on, I think, when a cat walks by, and it shines this light into our window in our bedroom. So I've been sleeping with a sleep mask, and it's just changed the game for me. But we want a cool, dark, quiet room. We want to keep it simple. You don't need like this biohacking bedroom. Turn on a fan if there's like, like creaky noises that are keeping you awake. Just maintain, you just need to make a place where your brain understands like, this is where I sleep. It is time to sleep when I do these like 3 things. And that is going to help you fall asleep so much faster. And, I want to now speak directly to those who are listening, who are thinking, Hope, that sounds wonderful, but, I have a baby and, I also have a baby or I work nights or, I'm in perimenopause and I'm waking up constantly, or I'm caring for a sick parent. My child doesn't sleep. I understand there are seasons where sleep is not completely within your control. And the answer to that isn't guilt. You don't need another reason to feel like you're failing. I totally in your corner with that. Instead, I want you to separate 2 things, okay? Sleep disruption and sleep sacrifice. These are 2 different things. Sometimes our sleep gets disrupted. Your baby wakes up, like me last night. Your child is sick, something happens. That is just life. But sometimes we're sacrificing sleep unnecessarily. The baby might wake up at 2 a.m. You can't necessarily control that. You might be able to control, though, whether you're scrolling Instagram until 11:30 p.m. That's the hard truth right there. And that's where I want your attention. What can you control? I can control that I got to bed on time last night. I can't control that my baby was up crying for an hour last night. You got to protect the edges is how I want you to think of it. If you know you're in a season where nighttime sleep is unpredictable, it may actually become more important to stop unnecessarily giving away the sleep opportunity that you do have. So it's not going to happen perfectly. That's okay. I just want you to be incredibly intentional. And so here is what I want you to do this week. Let's take some action, because learning without action is like, what good is it, right? I want you to do an experiment for me. Not forever. Let's just do this for 7 days together. For the next 7 days, I want you to prioritize sleep like it actually matters. Give yourself roughly 8 hours of sleep opportunity each night if your life circumstances allow it. Pick a reasonably consistent bedtime and wake time. Get outside for morning light and put your phone away for the last 30 minutes before bed. That's it. Okay. So going to bed at the same time, waking up at the same time, getting that morning light in the morning, and then putting your phone away 30 minutes before bed. That is it. I'm not going to give you like a 12 point list of habits to do. I just want you to do these 3 things. And then I want you to pay attention. How hungry are you? What happens to your cravings? How do your fasts feel? How is your energy, mood? All of that. How do your workouts feel? If you're monitoring your blood sugar, what do you notice? How easy or difficult does it feel to make the choices you want to make? Because here's the question I really want you to answer. Did taking care of my sleep make taking care of myself easier? And I think for a lot of you, the answer is going to be a big, astounding yes. So if you've been listening to this podcast for any length of time, you know that I don't believe there is just like one magical thing that fixes our health, right? There isn't a perfect diet. There isn't a perfect fasting schedule or supplement stack, perfect workout routine that's going to undo everything else. Health is built through the things we repeatedly do at the end of the day. Our food matters, movement matters, our strength training, our stress management, our relationships, your thoughts matter. Fasting can be an incredible metabolic tool, but sleep sits underneath so many of these things. And when you protect your sleep, you're not just improving your sleep, you're creating a better environment for blood sugar regulation to work well. You're supporting your insulin sensitivity, your appetite regulation, recovery, nervous system, immune system, your brain, and you're giving yourself a better chance to actually follow through on the habits that you're trying to build. And so maybe your next breakthrough isn't another diet. Maybe it isn't, trying to do a longer fast or doing more exercises, more days at the gym, or totally cutting out carbohydrates. Maybe you don't need to push harder. Maybe you need to recover better. And because sometimes the most productive thing you could do for your health is incredibly simple. It's just going to bed. It's protecting your sleep. So give your body the opportunity to do the work it was designed to do while you're resting. Rest is not a sin, you guys, in this world of productivity. Rest is best. We got to protect our rest and our sleep, and then wake up tomorrow with a body and a brain that, are actually equipped to help you become the person you're trying to become. Because sleep isn't the thing we do after we've finished taking care of ourselves. Sleep is part of how we take care of ourselves. And it might just be the foundation that makes everything else easier. And so think about that as you go into this next week, into this weekend. Prioritize your sleep and see how much differently it makes you feel. So with that, you guys, thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate it. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, leave a review, like this episode, share it with a friend, share it on your social media, go over to my social media, help a girl out, like some of my videos, watch them all the way through, post them to your stories, whatever. Help me get some more eyes on those. And with that, you guys, we will see you next week on the Lifestyle School Podcast.